Hey guys, this is a conversation I had recently about social media growth and long-term strategies and sort of what you need to do before even having a plan of how to convert that into a monetization strategy, selling anything or enrolling anybody in anything. You need to get outreach first. Now, I'm adding this in because the conversation itself seems kind of bleak. It seems like it's really difficult in this time specifically to grow these days. And many even of the bigger accounts out there are having challenges growing or losing their audiences. And us as well. And we face things like censorship, and we're at a strange phase in the social media marketplace where the cowboy ages are kind of over and the platforms have kind of matured a little bit, and so they are making it more difficult for small-time creators. They are leaning more towards corporate interests and mainstream content, and we are probably going to see new platforms come out, but that's why I'm adding this, because the strategies that we talked about are going to apply to any platform. We're making content at the baseline, so if anything happens to one platform, we can easily just shift our content to the new platforms that come out and maintain our existing sales platform. So that's about all I wanted to really add, was that it might seem bleak, but nobody's going to become an influencer overnight. This is a big task, and what this does really is make the job of marketing much easier. If you're going to be in business, you're still going to have to get outreach somehow. People are going to have to know about you, and it is still better to do it online. Despite the challenges, outreach still is awesome. It is awesome to, rather than speak to one person or one group of people once, to record it and have the ability for dozens, even dozens is a low number of views, but dozens of people to watch your one presentation. You've duplicated your efforts many times, and that's what it really is about at the core of sales, is getting people to hear the message, ultimately hear the proposition, and give them an opportunity to buy the product or the service or whatever it is. So it is still a good strategy. It is still profitable. It does still open us up to being able to provide our services or products without having without having physical stores, without having to put out flyers and do traditional marketing. So with having said that, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Thank you.
Good morning, Will.
Hello, Ryan. How are you today?
I'm doing much better than yesterday since I was on the road. It feels great to be home. And I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for a while. And actually, one new thing that came up in my head was it's particularly important for us to talk about this in this Corona time, because we are in the health business. And this makes it a very controversial time and a very controversial topic. And anything that we do on social media becomes a little bit more difficult than it might have been 2-3 years ago. If you were listening to anybody speak about, oh, I'm going to build my business, online. Some things have changed recently, not just the climate, the political, cultural climate of things that are going on, but also the apps themselves and the way that apps are monetized, specifically with YouTube. Right? There's a lot of questions involving YouTube right now, and also Instagram. Instagram never paid you directly, but Instagram obviously gave you the ability to market yourself within your own reach there, but reach is limited in certain ways, and I would like to go into some of that. And I hope you have some questions, Will, and I hope you're good. And we've got a moment here. I've got call it 1:30. It's an hour and a half. I think that's quite a good time to go into some detail. And I wanna let you speak, and I wanna let you ask any questions that you want. A way to kind of start the conversation with social media, particularly. And a lot of what we say is going to apply to any skill set. And this is absolutely one of them. It's social media marketing. Those are two separate skills, but it's the same thing combined that we're trying to do here. So to start with, there's two ways of thinking that I think get people into trouble before people really know what they're doing with either marketing or any of this stuff. The first one is that people think they can't do it. Okay. We all know that, right? Oh man, how could I really do that? I'm not a bikini babe, I'm not that interesting, people, whatever, they're self-conscious about how they look or how they sound or how they talk, and they think they can't do it. And then the other problem is that people think they can do it, right? People that come into it thinking, oh, I've got Facebook, I've got Instagram, I know what I'm doing. I got 700 followers, I got 3,000 followers, I got 8,000 followers. It doesn't really matter. Knowing how to monetize that into a lifestyle is quite a different skill. And the sub skills that are necessary are there because one platform is never going to take us all the way. We've seen this with every platform as it's come up. You were able to make money on Google ads, differently back in the day than you are now. Facebook ads were much cheaper 36 months ago than they are now. Instagram, the landscape has changed in terms of growth and outreach, but there's also new ways to monetize it. So people thinking they can't do it, people thinking that they can do it. Either way, my main thing, I go along with Gary Vee. And by the way, anytime I'm going to drop a whole bunch of names, and each one of these should be studied because each one of them are important. Gary Vaynerchuk, he's going to be talking a lot about the long haul. When you start this, when you start any business, when you start any skill set, right? I'll go to art all the time. People say, I can only draw a stick figure. I can't draw a stick figure, whatever. That's because they haven't put any time or effort into it. And that's it. It's a skill set. Build it up. Obviously, there's other things involved as well, but that's the rest of it. But people starting from scratch, it doesn't matter whether you had a Facebook for 10 years or something like that. As soon as you start posting things that people know that you're making money off of or you have any financial interest in, they absolutely will treat the content differently and they will treat you differently if you don't do it correctly, right? If you don't do it honestly and to the best of your ability, right? A lot of people jump in this. We're talking about network marketing here, but also any affiliate marketing, anything like that. Even if you opened a traditional business and you were trying to get people to go there, or even you have a job and you're trying to get people to go in there, that kind of thing. Maybe you manage a car dealership, for instance, one of my friends, you have to act sort of like a salesman, but you also have to act like a human being. A lot of people mess up early on. They turn their friends and family off because they go to them and they say, hey, I've got this opportunity. Hey, I've got this product, right? And it can be a very difficult conversation. So I want your questions here, but the two different things that we're talking about within social media are the warm market and the cold market. And the warm market being people you already know, people, your Facebook friends, people you've met in real life, people you've worked for, people you've worked with, that kind of thing. And then the cold market is the entire rest of the world. And within network marketing, you're going to find out no matter what. And this is any multi-level product. This is any direct sale product. This is any drop ship product, right? Or any of the, all the Shopify things. This is all based on drop shipping. It's an excellent program. Same with our products, right? Direct sale, meaning we're just hooking the customer up with the warehouse, right? Warehouse price. It goes to them and we don't pay the fees in the way, right? We don't hold the product. We don't buy the product. We don't buy and sell, right? We sell and then buy, if that makes sense, which is a much cheaper way to do it. And this is why we're talking about online business. And we're just talking about the political climate. How many businesses are going out of business right now? How many businesses are not able to operate right now? There's a lot of jobs that are really up in question. And who's making the money? It's the people that are operating online still, for the most part, right? So it's an excellent time to get into the cold market. And a lot of that is putting your head down and kind of forgetting about your warm market. To my opinion, the best way to deal with the warm market is to build your business otherwise. Prove that you can sell your product or your service to the public, right? Prove that you can get the word out to the public. And this is the same. If you were selling door-to-door product back in the day, what are you going to knock on? Just your friends and family? You probably are first. You might get a few sales, right? If you're selling Girl Guide cookies, you might get a few sales from your friends and family, but you got to go out there and you got to hit the street, right? You got to knock on doors. In the old days, you got to make phone calls. I started this business on the phone before social media because part of this, like you know me through the Wallach Warrior account. I posted on that account pretty regularly for 3 years before anything happened, right? 3 years before I did it properly. I had other accounts in the meantime, and each one of them had their own challenges, and most of it wasn't monetized, right? Each type of thing that you're trying to do is a different way to monetize it online. All of this, the underlying skill sets are still going to apply. If you're trying to sell your own product that you make online, you still need to have a strong strategy within, how to actually do it. So, Will, I want to hand it over to you and give me your thoughts and give me any questions that you have, especially on the startup. But all of it will apply. Basically, everything that you do at the start is just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, long haul, right?
Absolutely. And certainly a lot of good points made there. A couple of things I'd like to touch on. I feel like I can do it, but at the same time, certainly in a position where it's like, how do I get started, right? So I think a lot of people are in that boat where you got a vision, you got an idea, you want to achieve something, but I think we all want kind of instantaneous results. The fact that you're saying it took you 3 years to get to the point where it was actually producing anything, any fruit, is something that I think most of us in today's day and age look at and don't have the patience for, in a sense. So you mentioned door to door. Interestingly enough, my day job is door to door. I sell solar. So I agree. It's one of those things where you can't just stay local. You can't just stay within your warm market, as you said it. You have to go and get as many, what's the term we're using? Touches or exposures?
Exposures, touches.
Right.
You'll hear a lot of different words for it.
Got to do it. So with that being said, I've been obviously on Longevity, as you know, for going on a year now. Had great personal results. Been telling friends and family about it, but I really feel passionate about spreading the word in the way that you have. So I did begin my own Instagram page, co.factor, and did it about 3-4 months ago. Posted a couple times, and life got in the way, in a sense, and I started focusing elsewhere. So obviously, I'm looking at it from that perspective that I want to see results, and they're obviously not going to happen instantly. How would you suggest people begin? Right. I know your first post, I actually went all the way through on Wallach's Warriors to the bottom before I started, was simply photos of the product. Right. Would you have any suggestions to make to help people figure out their lane, how to do it?
Well, yes, actually, because I think I slacked on that account because I also, not that life got in the way, but I have multiple interests, right? And I did jump into network marketing on foot, right? In the person-to-person realm completely. Events, right? Hosting events, going to events, going to conferences, bringing other people to them, calls, making calls, three-way calls, all kinds of things, right? The traditional route. And it's brutal. It can be brutal. And honestly, I've always hated the phone. And since the smartphones came into my life, which is about 2015, I had nothing with the social media before that, 2015. It's much harder to me on the body. I found out that I was, sensitive to radiation, and you only become more sensitive with awareness. So we are operating on these devices, and I didn't like using the phone. I didn't like being on the phone all day. It's crazy, but you can make sales that way, and I made a living that way. And so to preface this too, talking about immediate results, if it depends on what your goals really actually are and your seriousness of it are. When I was first introduced to this, I was literally homeless. I didn't live anywhere. We were couch to couch, long stories, not necessary, but there was no stability, right? So I actually built the ability to live through this business, straight up. Right, it wasn't through selling anything else. I was doing tattoos when I first landed back in Canada, 2014, but we're still jumping around. I still wasn't living anywhere. I could have gone live with my mom, but it's just I'm not going to make any money there, kind of thing. Got to get things going, and doing that having any type of hustle or a job. Right, the normal person would have a job. I just didn't have a job, didn't want a job, that kind of thing. Don't really have time for it. Anyways, we had plans, got to get things moving. But this was introduced to me only because it cured me. Right, and I use the word cure because it was cure. My problems were all gone. My story on that is elsewhere. But everybody who is serious in this specific business, the health business, does have a story like that. Right, their life is different now because of the products, or they've seen people in their life dramatically affected by something. Right, diet, product, in our case, combination of both, and a powerful message delivered by a charismatic Dr. Wallach. Right, so I didn't play that card first. The original account, the Wallach Warrior account, was originally called YGYOntario Community. Longevity being the name of the company that makes the products that Dr. Wallach started. It was originally American Longevity. It turned into just Longevity International. And that Ontario is where I live, in community. It was long, it's clunky, and it's too specific, right? Part of social media training will teach you to be specific. You want to be specific, but it was too much, right? Nobody knew what it meant. And like you said, you scroll down and it's just not good content, not appealing content. It might be good if you kind of understand the context, but it's very difficult to deliver context in one post, right? Then each social media platform gives you the different ability to go into a different length. YouTube game's different than Facebook, different than Instagram. Instagram is quick, right? You don't have much time. Your first second or less of people actually seeing it is going to really determine whether they stay on it, and that's really going to matter long term. The amount of people that see it and stay on it in the first hour is going to determine how many people that is unlocked to, in the next stage. So what I changed about Wallet Warrior is the same thing I changed about the Tower account. And it's actually a better idea to start with the Tower account, because that I started it only because I was concerned about cell phone towers. I was still kind of new to Instagram and social media in general. I didn't really know how to conduct myself, even though I'd done the research. And P.S., the research is key. I had dove into research at that point since, I think, 2015, right? So just putting music aside, putting other interests aside, listening to the necessary audios, the necessary sales training. I do want to go into like a list of that at the end. And that was in the background, so I already kind of knew what I was doing in terms of like how to do it, like at least in the basics of posting every day, that kind of thing. Like, you're not going to get views on the first post. It's just not going to happen, right? Unless you're a celebrity and you create an account and you make a post and another celebrity reposts it, The Rock reposts it, boom, you got your million followers or whatever it is. We're not in that world, and we're trying to sell something. That means you have to actually give out information first, because if people don't know what you're talking about, they're not going to buy what you're talking about. So there's no point in leading with a thing that they're not going to understand right away, right? There's way too much information behind this. You've seen that we've posted over 1,000 times. Well, that's after I got the good idea of taking Wallach and chopping them down into 1-minute chunks. And this is after years of making videos. I've been making videos since I was a little kid. I never got the idea to break down lectures. And anybody can steal that idea, by the way, but it's not easy to do. And I wouldn't recommend using the same content as anybody else. This is called the blue ocean strategy, right? You don't want to be posting the same content. It's going to be very difficult unless you're a really, really good curator. And now in Instagram, if you're not paying for ads, you're probably not going to get your good start up, straight up, right? If you're not paying to promote your posts, you're probably not going to get a good start. And that's kind of how it is now. Unless you have hard-hitting information repeatedly. Even if you have the hardest hitting posts in the world, if it's your first post, people need to see more, that you have more, so you have some credibility. That's it. Maybe you don't post your best post first. Maybe post it again later. It doesn't matter, right? But you do have to start posting. The lecture thing, I could tell you exactly how I do it, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stages. If you don't mind, maybe I'll just crank that down, because it's a strategy that you can do. And I've seen other people try and copy it, and it's just not as good of a product. And that's no offense, right? It took, again, taken me years to actually make content that people cared about. Hold on, I skipped the towers part. So I was just posting towers, just pictures of towers that I took, but I was doing it every day, and I was doing some little tag, some little caption, cheeky little caption. By the way, thousands of captions to get good captions, in my opinion. There's an art to captions. There's an art to everything, but you have space in captions. If you don't like speaking, put your thoughts in the captions. You can write it as long as you want. Just make it readable, and that can be your voice. People can get popularity based on their captions, right? And the actual content itself, as long as you do it repeatedly, maybe you don't need to post every day when you get rolling, right? But truly, you got to keep it rolling. Okay. A lot of the people are going to say, like, these numbers can scare people, right? Go back to the people think I can't do it, people think I can do it. Well, you need numbers. And you're talking about knocking on doors. When you knock on doors, at least you get to talk to people. It's way easier to sell someone something when you talk to people. Online, you need way more exposures before you get anyone to talk to you. And then you need to talk before you get sales. And all this takes time. Even if they're exposed to your content, they're not going to buy something from you. Especially if you're selling something serious, they're not going to buy it for at least 20, 30, 40, 50 days, sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years, right? We got people who come to say, okay, I've been following you forever. What are you selling? How do I buy it? That kind of thing. That can go with your friends too, right? You're talking about your friends and family. This is exposures. They need multiple exposures, maybe over years, depends on who they are. Your family's not necessarily good prospects. Your Facebook friends are not necessarily good prospects. The people you went to school with are not necessarily good health prospects, right? Whether they trust you or not, it's whether they care about their body or not. We're selling gym membership or something like that, right? It's a pretty good commitment, pretty big commitment. I actually meant good in the sense of like big. It's a pretty big commitment. Like we're talking about $100, $200 a month for the average person who's taking their nutrition seriously, kind of all in for their supplements and extras, not including their food. But if they do that part there, that $200 nutritional nest, they shouldn't need to spend that much else on food. Food should be pretty simple. So what I changed about the Tower account was honestly only because it did get a bit of following. It gained fairly steadily, just like my art account gained fairly steadily. My art account had something to sell, so I get the odd commission, something like that, sell the odd thing. But the Tower account, I wasn't selling anything until I had somebody, I had several people reach out to me wanting to do affiliate stuff, and I knew it really just kind of wasn't worth it for me. I don't really care about 5% of their product or whatever. It's not enough for me to, quote, sell out. I don't really believe in it enough. And I was already in the radiation business and the selling the frequency tuning discs, right? And those, I got controversy for selling them online when I first wanted to do it. Before the Instagram thing was really rolling, actually, it was kind of the heart of the struggle story, giving up the traditional footpath way of doing it and trying to do it online and really struggling at first. I wanted to sell them online, and even the friends didn't want to get involved because we don't have patents. And I said, it doesn't matter, right? And so far, it doesn't matter. Anyways, it's not a public company. It doesn't matter. So anyways, I changed the content because people reached out to me, especially Shane from Connecting Consciousness. His page is quite big. He does very well in affiliate stuff. He wanted me to get involved in affiliate stuff, but he basically yelled at me. And he's younger than me. He yelled at me and said, you need to do your content better because you have a responsibility. He says, you know what you're doing. You have a message, this is bad. You can be the hub for this information and you can monetize it. And I took his advice as far as, treating it more seriously. You can go back and read the old posts and they're not really treated that seriously. And it paid off. First of all, the following exploded because I started posting content that was relevant rather than just pictures of towers. Like I was getting attention on the fact that there was towers. And by the way, that's when Instagram stories started. Right, Snapchat was before. I never got into Snapchat, but Instagram integrated stories into their platform around that time. I think this is 2017, and that changed the game basically for continuing attention, because we're talking about exposures, continuing attention. People don't always see your posts, especially if you post a lot. They might not see it a lot. It's weird. Instagram is like that. YouTube is kind of like that too. It doesn't want to blast you with the same stuff, but then as soon as you like a few things, it only gives you those things. It's weird. Anyways, the story allows you to keep their attention. So you're talking about, you made a couple posts and then life went on, right? When you post your life in the story, it allows people to keep up with you. And if you are, quote, living the lifestyle, that's how you do it. That's how you show it. And I'm always thinking of ways to show more. And that's how it's been profitable, actually. So that's the difference maker. When people were able to see that I was a human being, right, I never advertised my personal account before, that kind of thing. Everything was separate. I didn't even really do anything with the personal account, just books here and there kind of thing. But again, it wasn't geared, it wasn't targeted, it wasn't funneled. They weren't working together. Whether you have two accounts, you can focus on one or the other. But when you're tying them together, now it doesn't really matter if you're posting that often on a couple of them kind of thing. You can have your focuses, and the overall net, what that does is allow people to know you and to know your message and to know your lifestyle and to want to have a part of that lifestyle. And obviously, whatever you're doing, you're going to have the ability to have something to sell that's associated with that. We all have products that we love and love to represent. There's some things that I would love to make money off. It doesn't make sense to do, but I'll still tell you to go and buy it from someone else kind of thing, And so what we're doing here, we have to build trust. It's part of this. Like, that's what exposures are for. They're trust, not just about you, but about what you're selling. And if you're honestly representing what you're selling, a lot of people can fall off there, right? They just don't look like they're honestly representing what they're selling, including myself. I did that. I did honestly, anybody who knew me, by the way, that's how I got a little bit of traction at the beginning, because all I had to do was walk up to people that I had known for a long time, and they're like, wow, you can move properly, right? That's how this conversation starts. And it's a bunch of people that trusted me jumped in, but I still got a bunch of people who didn't, a bunch of people who were actually offended, by what I had to say, that kind of thing, and had to learn sales on its own. So I'm going to stop there, because that sales on its own category, that goes into what you have to do to learn sales, and I'll give that list at the end.
Absolutely, and I think that is a conversation in itself. One of the things I wanted to talk about that you just touched on is making it personal, right? So obviously, before we even spoke the first time, I felt like I knew you, right? It's such an odd thing with social media, and that there's like
Yeah.
personalities, like it's one side. It's like you're looking through it. I don't even know how to describe it, but you have no idea who your followers are necessarily, but we feel like we know you. Um, and so that obviously seems like something that legitimized what you're doing, and my ability to see what you're saying and trust it. How, for somebody who's not very socially, at least on the internet, I don't have a huge desire to be putting myself out there like that, but I feel like it's a necessity. How would you suggest somebody getting over that hump?
Okay, well, there's a couple of things here. First off, you don't have to put your face on camera. At least you don't have to do it that often, but you really don't. There's other options, right? But the first biggest thing that most of the trainers are going to get into is ego, right? The biggest thing stopping people from putting their personal lives forward, either your personal life has problems and that's something you don't want to show, and that could be in food, by the way. Hey, maybe you're promoting healthy living, but your food isn't healthy, right? Maybe you don't want to show that. That's a problem that you need to fix, right? You need to represent what you're doing honestly, and as long as you're doing that, you should be able to show it. The only other problem is the ego. It's the human ego. We think that people are going to judge us or whatever. And sure, you can put yourself in the best angle. You're not going to get the best angle every time. You're not going to hit a home run every time, right? It doesn't really matter. But like you see my stuff. I don't really post my face that often. I do in video form in Wallach Warrior, and I hesitated that for a while. By the way, I waited until we had a fair bit of clout online, within that specific community. Any app that you have it's going to have its own community, and you got to build credibility within that community. And that means you got to respond to things too. The trainers are going to say you got to respond to the comments, especially in the beginning. The people that are feeling what you're doing, doesn't matter if you have 100 followers. I've made sales on my art account when I had 60 followers. I got a wicked commission at 60 followers. It was sick, right? That can happen. You can get a wicked enrollment like this. We're talking about network marketing. P.S. The numbers are big for exposures. The numbers of enrollments that are necessary are small because it's the pyramid, right? That's when you enroll somebody, they have the ability to enroll other people, and so you don't need a bunch of people. You're growing it, right? You're growing a tree. You're growing a wall. You're building a wall. This is why network marketing takes time, because it's the immediate payout is not based on just the initial enrollments. It's based on the long-term growth, right? And people bringing in people, ants marching into the anthill, and that's how you create a nest egg. And that's how people talk about making 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 a month in these businesses, because they build it, right? And that's also what's great about it too, is because you can put your head down. Part of this is forgetting about it. You're going to need an ego death. If you haven't had an ego death online yet, that means you haven't been trying hard enough. Truthfully, if you haven't put yourself out there, if that means you haven't got punched in the face. That's it. And you need to. Doesn't matter what you're doing. We have what we feel is a very positive message. For example, post about meat, anything about meat, you're going to get post about eggs. People who follow you are going to unfollow you. That's it. Post about eggs. If you have enough followers, all you got to do is post about eggs and people will unfollow you. Some people will unfollow you for that reason. Just maybe they didn't know you posted about eggs before. One of the reasons we separated our food account, by the way, because also posted just vegan, vegetarian dishes. Some people will be like, it's crazy. Every post that you make when you get big enough will have you unfollowed by some people. If you're posting a variety of views, unless you're sticking tunnel vision to one thing. And to me, that's kind of hard to do unless you're doing something like art, or you do something repetitive. You bike downhill, action shots, that kind of thing. If you're a bikini babe, that kind of thing. If you look good, if you're out there living a high life of some kind, whatever. If what you do is interesting and it's repetitive, that's fine. But for the most part, I prefer to include not a variety of views necessarily, but a variety of information. And we could actually even tighten it a bit more, especially, we post a lot of Ben Fuchs and Jim Rohn. I mean, it could look a little bit all over the place, but I think it all kind of goes together. And the point being that the only way any of this was able to happen is because I had to ditch the ego. I just had to, and I had to show more of my personal life because it wasn't profitable until I did. And even that's just the books I read and some of the opinions I have, and some of the videos that I like. A lot of people have straight up come into my personal account and said, I didn't really trust the Wallach account until I saw you and the fact that you're a human being, and that's it, right? That's it. And you don't, part of this, by the way, is in filming it. I kind of want to stop again at this point and switch to the mechanics of actually doing it. Short clips are golden, right? You only have a second or two of attention anyway. So when you're talking about, oh, you need to post 4 to 60 to 100 stories a day, you get 100 story shots a day. If you can fill that, that's amazing. That's an ideal day. You can't post 100 times, but you can fill the stories and you can have people watch it, and people do watch it. Will, this is how the sales are made. People watch the story like they watch TV. We get our own TV channel, right? And it can vary widely because it's Instagram, you know, like it can go up and down by 10, right? And you don't really have that much control over that. You can get way more story views when you're smaller. Sometimes all the big accounts are like, yo, my story views just got chopped in half and by 20% or whatever. And that affects everything because all this is based on attention. And keep it in the network marketing realm here, you also need the attention of the people who are in your downline, right? The people might give up. Like, all this stuff we're talking about is hard. It takes a long time. Maybe they don't listen to this. Maybe they don't listen to the other speakers. Maybe they don't listen to the gurus, right? And maybe they lose the hope. Maybe they just forget about it. Maybe they forget about the whole lifestyle. Maybe they forget about the potential of having an online lifestyle, not having to go to work anymore, right? I haven't had a job in 8 years. Some of those years were really hard, but now I'm surviving, right? And I'm above ground. This is wicked, you know? So it can happen. It can happen for many people. I've seen magic in this. And these are from people who didn't know how to do social media. And this is, again, so the key, what is the key? It's living the life. It's doing it properly. And all you're doing is filming it properly, meaning, you know, do your homework on angles, practice with angles for real. I like eye level, by the way, PS, big hint. A lot of people will hold the camera up or down, you know, for themselves or for other things. And just, if you want a wicked shot of anything, just do it at eye level. If you're shooting anything, a product or an action shot or anything, do it at the eye level of what's going on. To me, it'll come out as a much better post or a much clearer video or whatever it is. And keep doing it. Keep posting your actual life. You can post information. I skipped that on how to actually do that. You need some equipment to do that. You need a computer. You need software. You know, you need to know how to edit videos. You need to practice with it. I go in and I chop out the breaths. That's PS. I think the secret was the good videos. The first batch that I made, the music was too loud and I didn't have subtitles. The second batch, the music was still too loud, but I did have subtitles. Started to gain traction, right? Took the music down, subtitles proper, made the subtitles bigger, started chopping it harder. And good content, by the way, if you take one lecture that you like, it doesn't have to be Dr. Wallach. I've got a bunch of lectures going. However you want to do it. I find it easier just to kind of chop them up in a line. This is why it can take you a while. It can take me 2 hours to make a video total because there's different stages, right? First stage, I'll download the lecture and then I'll bring it into the editor and I'll start chopping it 1 minute at a time. And if it's good content, you should be able to chop the whole lecture up, basically. There shouldn't be much fluff in it. And Dr. Wallach's great for that. Dr. Glidden's great for that. Ben sends me videos all the time, so I've got this stack of, you know, 1 to 2 minute moment of truth Ben videos just to chop up even further, take all the pauses out, all the breaths, all the ums, all the ahs, any wasted space. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to chop certain speakers into 1 minute. Right? It is difficult to work in 1 minute chunks. IGTV is an option. Instagram does promote IGTV. Longer videos are an option, but if you're posting on YouTube, truthfully, you can't really repost that much, right? The secret I've used for Instagram is taking videos off of YouTube, taking existing videos and making some of my own, filming some of my own speakers and myself and chopping them up, treating everything in that same manner, though. It's all the same workflow. But the video editing is a big part of my life, and it's been a big part of my life since Wallach Warriors started to get popular. Me making the Towers content, I did that all from my phone for years, you know, not years. I think it's only 2.5 years old or something like that. But I did it for the first while without even, you know, ever making a video from my laptop. But as soon as I did start going in and making effort, I like doing it on a laptop or a computer. It's way easier, truthfully. Just trying to do everything on your phone, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. It's going to take you longer. And I don't like holding the phone, PS. So these other devices, I like them plugged in and just at the desk, and you can just hammer through groups of them. I do groups of 9 videos at a time. Every stage I do 9 videos at a time so I don't lose track of it. And 9 is a good chunk. And even if you're not posting every day, Still, the regularity of the posts is important, but you'll notice the Towers account, I don't post that often anymore, and I still get followers coming. It's still growing, it's still profitable, because again, it serves as another vessel for people to see what this is about, right? In that specific area, radiation. And it's good to focus if you have focused interests. You will, for most people, it's mostly about you. It's mostly about who you are. So your personal account, you can grow that. Absolutely, if you're doing things that are appealing. My personal account, the only reason I've grown it is because I've funneled it from the other from the other accounts, because my book reading habit is not interesting enough to Instagram land, just in my opinion. I mean, there is some big book accounts, but it's tougher than something that's visual, like sports, like fitness or art. Or it was originally an art platform, right? A lot of these things were originally art platforms, especially Tumblr was how I actually, the first social media thing I ever used, just to store photos and that kind of thing. And if you have good content, you'll grow on that too, even though that's long gone. So I do want to stop here and hand it over to you, Will.
Absolutely. So again, I'm taking notes here just because there's always so much information that I need to take to heart. But something I've noticed with a lot of the accounts that really grab my attention is a uniform posting style. Mm-hmm. Do you know why that works so well? I mean, that seems something that really just allows people to acknowledge, like, whether it's explore page or whatever it is, like you see that and it grabs your attention as something that provides information.
It's branding. It's branding.
Okay.
It says that you put effort into it. You can't just do that by reposting. You've seen accounts that you go onto and it's all just random stuff. Right? Either they're just posting random things or they're reposting random things, so there's no regularity to it. So when you put it in its own little blanket, it looks more professional. It just looks more complete. It looks like you're delivering something that's going to be of value. We process that value exchange when we look at things all the time, right? You walk by a shop, do I want to go in there? Yes or no, right? Do I want to do business with this person? Yes or no? It's a pretty snap decision. And we make that based on branding. And that's your own personal brand too. Go back to that too. Ego, all this stuff. Maybe you do look like a bum. I'm not saying you do, Will, but maybe someone listening, maybe you do look like a bum. I look like a bum sometimes, truthfully. And I'm like now to go on camera, my hair's a bit long. I have to shower and put my hair back before I go on camera. You got to clean up, just like you got to mow your lawn. It's like, but now you have to do it. You can't get away with these things. If your living room's a mess, you don't want to show people your living room, right? If it's clean, you kind of do want to show people your living room. So then you showing people your living room, right? You don't need to show them the bathroom. You show them the living room. That's how they get to know you. That's how they say, yeah, maybe I'm going to listen to this guy on health or on whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe I'm going to look at what this guy's other business is. Maybe I'll click the link in the bio. Maybe I'll watch the story and I'll find out more, right?
Yeah, I think that was really well said, branding. I never even really thought of it like that, but it absolutely does give you something to hold on to and something to make your post stand out. So that was well said. Hashtags, right? Is this still something you think provides benefit?
I'll answer that for you right now. I will go into Instagram. I'll go on to the Wallach Warrior account. I'll go to the last Dr. Wallach post. I will go to Insights. And from hashtags. It's not showing me from hashtags. It's showing me from home, from Explorer, from profile, from other. So actually based on that, the outreach from other is very low. It was 50 on that. So the hashtags did nothing for that post. Answer is kind of up and down, man, truthfully. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And I think it has more to do on what Instagram wants to put you in terms of hashtags or geotags. Geotags used to be a thing. You used to get wicked views from geotags, meaning posting your location or a location in your story. And even the posts, that used to be great. You used to get a lot of views. People were checking it out. And Instagram doesn't favor certain things. It changes. Sometimes it introduced IGTV and then it started massively favoring IGTV because it was trying to compete with YouTube or something. I don't know. It still does that, actually. It still randomly promotes some things, and some of it's based on your unlocking, but your original unlocking with who already follows you. Like if they engage with it well, then it can decide. And by the way, Instagram doesn't publish this. A lot of this is just kind of figuring this out or trying to figure this out. And I don't think any of us really truly know how Instagram works, and it changes all the time. So it can unlock you into certain hashtags, and they can blow up for you or not. But it's much more about the consistency, because it's much more about word of mouth. Basically, if I look into any of these posts, the real correlation is between how many people shared it with their friends. Right. So this last one, the real cause of obesity, 335 people sent it to their friend. 211 people kept it as their favorite, meaning they probably watched it again or want to watch it again or want to recommend it to someone else. That's where you get growth from. It's still organic. It still is word of mouth. It still is people saying, yo, you got to check this out. Why? Because the message is hard hitting, or because the post is great, right? Even art is very hard. And my art account has been bleeding for 2 years. It's been losing followers for 2 years, because you gotta go hard. You gotta hit hard. You don't have much chance, so you might as well keep swinging that bat, truthfully, and you're gonna hit a home run, not 3 out of 10 like a professional baseball player. You're gonna hit maybe 3 out of 100. If you're lucky, and that's okay. You just keep going, because you keep making posts, keep making stories, keep having people get to know you, keep not getting angry and not getting impatient. Try not to get in arguments with people. And when I say try, I mean try really hard. Try really hard not to argue with people, and be polite, and try and frame everything in a positive way. It can be very difficult to do.
Yeah, it's one of the realizations I had is it's certainly a lot more time consuming than you'd think. In order to have it come across the way you want it to professionally, it takes time. It's not something that comes naturally or easily. I'd say it's something that requires work, and so that's something that you definitely have to come to terms with. It is the long haul. I know. I read, I think at your suggestion, the Thank You Economy by Gary Vee. And I think that laid it out really well, as far as you have to provide value time and time and time again in order for people to really take what you're saying and apply it. You can't be necessarily plugging something. I know we're talking about connecting consciousness earlier, like Chalk. Like if he was doing that instantly, I don't think he'd have anybody taking him seriously.
No.
Right. Obviously, he provided a lot of information time and time and time again, and now he's posting about the supplements, and people, I'm assuming he's doing well as a result.
Oh yeah. I know he's doing well, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And he has a wicked strategy too. Honestly, I learned a lot from him on the spot, just because there were things that I already knew and I wasn't applying. And one of them was auto post. He said, "Man, do it auto post, do it auto post." And now, P.S. like my most updated strategy is at the end of the line, when I have my video made, chopped up, subtitled, got my own music, uncopywritten music behind it, low, and it's on my phone. I've put it on my phone. I've put it into the titler, right? And I use a meme app. It's just called Meme Maker. I pay for that too, so you can do the 1-minute videos instead of 30-second videos. It's $3.99 a month. I think that's Canadian dollars.
And is that how you do the text and the uniform posts?
Yes. Yes. Okay. You're gonna need some app, and that's iPhone. I don't know if it's otherwise, but you have iPhone, so
good to go.
I would download it. It's $3.99 a month. It's worth it for sure. And then I pay for the later app once it's all done. And P.S. I put the watermark in the video too. That's important. If it does get reposted, and reposts go up and down too. Depends on the ebb and flow of the world, I guess. But sometimes you get a lot of reposts, sometimes you don't. If you're getting reposts, a lot of times they don't use a repost app to directly repost it in, meaning they're not going to keep the original captions that had your information in it. So you want to put your tag on the video for sure. And you could do that with another watermark app, but I just do that in that same app. I'll put the title on it and the watermark on it. And that's how you get the uniformity for sure. And that's how, if it is repostable, that's how it just gets out there, and you are the source for that information. So if anybody starts copying you, they're still going to recognize you as a source, right? And it's not about copying, it's about spreading. It's good, But nobody's going to copy your direct style on it, because as soon as you start taking stuff like this and adding your own creative input, even a title, right, even a headline, that's your creative input, you've changed the original vibe of it. Now you're branding it, so you can take other people's content and brand it that way.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Later app. The Later app is kind of expensive, PS, but it's a good way to do it. Truthfully, it is a good way to do it, because it can consume a lot of your time to just post yourself. It's easier to post a story because Instagram makes it easy to post a story, right? I don't even like taking my phone around, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, like I used to look at people taking pictures of their phone like we all did in the early days. Like, what are they doing? Can they just eat a meal? No, but now I'm taking pictures and videos of my food too. And food's very personal, right? Talking about getting personal. Again, you don't need to show them the bedroom, your food, right? What you're actually doing, what is your business? Even you do door to door. Why not talk about it or show it in some way? And it could be a 1 second, 2 second clip, right? You wouldn't believe how powerful just these little exposures are. We're very sensitive to information. And quite honestly, people aren't using Instagram to sit there for the most part and watch something. They're using it to flick through. People don't spend long on stories, so you don't have long anyways. If you have a 15-second post, most people aren't going to watch all 15 seconds. A huge majority are not going to watch all 15 seconds, no matter what. Doesn't matter what you're doing. So you could be spilling your heart out. People are still going to watch the first second of it and skip and maybe watch 3 seconds of the next one where it's weird. That's how it is. So you might as well just put little tidbits, little what's going on. I would try not to complain, although there's a market for that, but
probably not the people I want to attract anyway.
Yeah, talk about that. You're trying to attract people that are like you, but you also said you thought you knew me, and I get that all the time, and it's because it is like the best way to actually connect with people you don't know. It's the best way that's ever existed. It's the best networking tool that's ever been created. That's Instagram, for better or worse. And all of its new changes and anything that will happen in the future, for better or worse, it's still to this date the best networker that's ever been created. It's better than you can do in real life. It's way better than the people you know. For the vast majority of people alive, the people that you're going to meet on Instagram are going to be way better than the people that you know in terms of the way that they relate to you, because you can't help, as long as you're doing it honestly, you can't help but broadcast your truth, right? And again, do it properly and you'll reach a lot of people. And you will connect with people who feel that. They resonate with you, they vibe with you. You can use whatever words you want to describe with it, but that is how this works. Whatever you're selling is going to be based on those vibes. And traditional marketing, it's been the same thing. We're trying to connect with people. And with us, it's great because we can just do it honestly. And especially because, back to our business, we're actually selling a lifestyle, right? So it should be easy to do it. And you've seen it. I don't basically ever post the products themselves. I don't really do that. I don't really show people the supplements that I take every day, because I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think you need to take the supplements that I take, right? I think the general message is more important, and then bringing people in and showing them how to personalize it for themselves is much better. And not shocking people away with products, because a lot of this lifestyle stuff, it's beyond products. This is in the totality of how you're spending your money. The people who are buying supplements are also going to be making food choices. They're also going to be making lifestyle choices. A lot of them are not going to be making other lifestyle choices, like alcohol, for instance, or gambling, all kinds of things that people could avoid if they're trying to have a healthy lifestyle. All types of positive things could come with that. And of course, those are the people that we're going to be attracting. If you're posting about guns and drugs and alcohol, you're going to attract those types of people, right? If you're posting about race cars, you're going to get race car enthusiasts. The chances of those race car enthusiasts being health people, right? That's what you have to measure as well. My art account, I've over the years developed some relationships, and over the years sold some of them some products, enrolled them or otherwise, or met them or become friends otherwise, But the odds of the average follower being into health is just not, it's not very realistic to base it on that. So you go for health, you go for positivity. And when there is negativity, you talk about the difficulty involved in this. Some of this is the kickback, because no matter what you do, you're going to get kickback. If you're not successful, you haven't. If you're successful, you've gotten kickback, for real. You've gotten negative comments. If you've got lovers, you got haters. It's just how it works, right? If you don't want people to feel moderately about you anyways, they're not even going to remember you. They're not going to have any reason to be interested in you. we are flaring emotions here in some way. It's difficult to be mediocre online and get much traction. The average person only has a couple hundred followers or whatever, and they don't have that much potential to sell anything on there, no matter what they're selling, unless they're selling, something that's a lot of money, maybe high-end real estate. They only need to deal with a couple customers a year to make their living, kind of thing. But for us, we want to get as much exposure as possible. So I want to stop there again, give you another chance to jump in.
Absolutely, yeah. So one thing, obviously, in today's day and age that I wonder about. I mean, I know you run a couple of quote unquote controversial accounts, right? Controversial in that they go against the mainstream narrative. What are you experiencing as far as censorship? Is that something that's affecting your reach? Is that something that is problematic right now?
Yeah, it is. It's super problematic, and it might not be the wisest strategy to base the information on the more conspiratorial realm, and whatever Zuckerberg considers conspiratorial is, we might have disagreements. So they do limit certain content, and I stay away from certain things. I stay away from vaccines. I should be staying away from COVID, truthfully, but at this point I can't because of the mask, but I don't want to talk about that right now. But it's rough, and I brought that up right at the beginning, and it's because truly the account could be lost any day. And that's why a lot of these skill sets and such are so important, because one platform can fall out for any reason any day. Tomorrow, something could crash. Tomorrow an account could be deleted. My first account on Instagram got deleted. My first art account. I still don't really know why. Maybe it's because of my controversial art. I also, quieted down a bit on that. And it's not necessarily like to get in line. It's just if you want to get exposure, you have to roll with these platforms. We don't have a truly open platform. And by the way, I did want to mention a new one called Library, LBRY. And I do think it has a chance of getting off the ground, and it might not. There's always platforms jumping up here and there to compete with the big ones, the Facebook / Instagram and YouTube, basically, three major ones, but even TikTok, but that's kind of very, very questionable right now as well.
China.
We kind of jumped off TikTok a while ago. But getting banned is absolutely realistic. But Library might be the savior for that, for the future. But that's going to be more long form content, like a YouTube replacement rather than an Instagram replacement. I don't want to get off Instagram. I love Instagram. Like I said, better or worse, it's totally changed my lifestyle because of the ability to outreach. Because that fact that it's the best networking tool ever created. And that it does connect us with people who are like-minded, and that if we do have a profitable strategy and we have a business plan, it's called a compensation plan, right? And within a network marketing framework, they will find out about it, right? They're not going to find out about it necessarily in the posts or in the stories. They're going to find out about it in the DM and in the relationship that you build with them. And that's what traditional network marketing is about anyways. It's not really about going out there and knocking on doors. It's more about getting to know people, in the supermarket or in your church or in your family or in your whatever, getting to know them and having this conversation and getting them started and helping them in this process. It's a whole different type of job. You don't show up to one place, you go to them and whatever. It's the same kind of thing actually on social media. You go to them, right? You go to where they're at. How do you show up in hashtags? You go to hashtags that people are looking at, right? Then you can use, by the way, you can type in top hashtags for whatever you want, and there'll be banks of 30 hashtags, and I use those all the time. Sometimes I change them, sometimes I mix them up, but I put a bank of 30 hashtags in all of the Wallach Warrior ones. I've been experimenting recently, by decreasing that, wondering if Instagram is only favoring a couple of them because I'm posting so many, so targeting them and seeing if that's making a difference. So far, I can't really report on that. The only fire posts that I've had recently was the one, the arrest in Australia video from yesterday on IGTV, and that hit over 15,000 in 24 hours or less. So I consider that a pretty good post. P.S. I used to get 100,000 views on some posts, so back when I had 5,000 followers. So Instagram changes a lot, and it did used to be a lot easier to get mega exposures because you need that huge net. You do need that huge net to find those gems. Right, with those people that you feel like on Instagram that you follow that you've never met. I've got some. You've got some. Those people were cast from a wide net. You've seen a lot lot of things that you never clicked on, or you've seen a lot of people that you weren't interested in, and you've seen a few that, boom, you're just bam, some spark, something you can't explain it. That's what you're trying to put out there, I think. And again, the post is one thing, because that's the net. The story's not the net. The story's for the people that already are in the net, right? A bunch of fish are going to swim out of the net. Some are going to stay. Now you need them to watch the story, because you need multiple exposures, and you need them to stay interested in you. And if they watch your story, that means it's more likely that they're going to see your post when you post, if that makes sense too. So the Instagram works in its own little web. If you're engaging on multiple levels with an account, you're going to see their content first, right? If there's someone that you comment on their stuff, you like their stuff, you DM them, you look at their story, you go back to their story, that kind of thing, it's going to show you their post first. So you want to stay in their heads, and you want to stay interesting, you want to stay relevant, and it can get a bit boring, saying the same message over and over. Our food page can be a bit boring. We don't even show it every day. Sometimes we're eating rice and eggs, man. Like, do we need to show them every day we're eating rice and eggs for 2 days because we're doing other stuff and whatever? Right. We don't mind rice and eggs. I'm dying for some rice and eggs today, actually.
It's about that time.
It can get boring, but I mean, it's weird. If they love you, then they'll watch it. And this is love, it's a big word. Some people are scared of that too. This is what it's about. And if you really, really want to do social media properly, if people trust you, this trust and love are almost synonymous. That's kind of how it is. You develop it starts with that initial attraction, which is your post, connected to your hashtags and all that stuff, and making sure it's geotagged. P.S. If you're doing posting every day, you do not need to geotag where you are. In fact, I live in a small town. I don't think it's smart for me to post to geotag my town. I think it's smart for me to geotag a bigger place. And when you're starting out, I think a strategy that did help me, and that some of the big accounts that I know, they all kind of do that, is posting in semi-small places around your target market, right? So if you're looking for an Atlanta, Georgia market, you're best off posting in the little cities around it, because there's going to be less content in there. That means you're going to stay there. If someone searches that smaller city beside the bigger city, it's more likely to be there, right? There's a million posts a minute going in the Atlanta file folder. It's just going to get buried, right? Same thing with art. The hashtag art, the people who click on that, they got 15 seconds to see your post, or else you're just buried, to the plummeting. So staying in more stable hashtags is a little bit smaller ones. But if you're in tiny, tiny places, then you want to go up a little bit bigger, so you have more chance of, again, seeing people. And our market is America, so I always post in America. Like, those are our best customers. It's paying in their dollar, So I kind of just stopped there again. That was my finished point. I went a little bit beyond.
Well, you're good at talking, so.
I hope that it's listen toable. Again, like most of the things that I would recommend, actually all the things that I would recommend listening to, I've listened to multiple times, right? And if you're listening to network marketing material, or you meet somebody who has been successful in this business or marketing in general, they're going to tell you, oh, there was this audio tape that I listened to it 3 million times, right? I listened to it nonstop. I listened to it on the way here and on the way there. I listened to it in the shower. And that's how it is. Like, one of these things is putting your head down and learning it, and listening to these sales things, and getting this personal development stuff in your head, and you're going to have the confidence to just do the work, right? Do the results-driven action, not worry about the naysayers, not worry about the no's, because your expectations are set realistically. You know that you're looking for 10 no's before one yes, right? And you know that you're trying to aim it all so that you don't even get a no. They're coming to you, kind of thing. That's what's beautiful about social media. It's better than knocking on doors. It's people knocking on your doors. It's amazing. So consuming that to the max, honestly, I haven't met anybody who's like really pulled themselves up and made something of themselves in the modern time that did not do that did not spend a year or two just plummeting their ears day and night, not watching movies at night, right? Not listening to music, listening to audios over and over and over. And I couldn't tell. Sometimes I sat in my car. Again, I was homeless for a while. There's a lot of times just sitting there, just listening. Why? Because that's the type of information, not only that's going to get you better, it's going to give you tools, multiple tools thought tools, right? This is all thought tools. How you approach things, your personal philosophy, your expectations, your idea, that will all translate into the ideas that you have and how to actually put it forward. It wasn't until I got really serious about my life that I was even able to step forward and apply any strategy. And then, of course, you get some success with some strategy, and you build that, and you build confidence, you build skills, and you practice. And if you don't have those skills yet, then you practice. If you don't know what to say to people, then you practice. You practice with somebody, you play with somebody, you practice with yourself. What are you going to hear? How are you going to respond? You've never made a post before. Film yourself. It's super uncomfortable. Do it, right? You don't need, like I said, you don't need to do it with your face, but your face helps. It really does. And I don't like doing it, and I try to do it less. It is super effective, but it's a lot, not pressure. You have to deliver value, like you said, with the thank you economy and everything. You have to. You can't just go on there and say something for the sake of it. You can tell when somebody's just kind of doing it because they feel like they have to, or they're trying to sell something, and it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. So really only get on when necessary. Will, if you do those Q&As, if you do any kind of Q&A, I think it's one of the greatest tools for engagement ever. I don't have any other example, right? You listen to the radio, they're like, you can call in and talk to them. Very few people call in, that kind of thing. You're not engaging. Having the Q&A on the story is one of the most brilliant things ever. You don't have to get on the camera and answer it with your face and your voice, but you can write something. Right. You can make a little, I don't know, a meme, It gives you the ability to do that, to just write your explanation, and it's awesome. And I don't know, that's how you personalize it. That's in your answers. It could just be about life, it could be about anything. And if you're showing what you're doing, then people should be asking about what you're doing. And I hope I'm not going long-winded on this because, well, it is long-winded. It is long-winded, but it's not going to happen if it's not long-winded. Truthfully, I don't know, unless you're selling manscapers, or something like that. You got some fire product and some fire marketing strategy, and you're going for numbers. It's not really our game. It is the long-haul game. But you had mentioned earlier people being a bit hesitant on that long-haul game, but I mean that's the best one.
Right.
When you make money, I don't know if you've ever made a lot of money at once. There's been some times in my life where I made some money. It's gone pretty quick. If you don't adjust to that. And it's much more about the income and the nest egg and the investments and, the growing of the income and the growing of the lifestyle and building businesses. That's wealth. Making money isn't wealth. Most people who win the lottery don't keep that money. I know somebody actually who won the lottery and went right back to zero. Right. Paid off his house, lost it a couple of years later. Back to zero because it didn't have a millionaire mindset, right? Jim Rohn says, if you get $1 million, you better adjust yourself. You better become a millionaire. Yeah. Or you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it for real. And I didn't have a millionaire mindset. I had to build that, and I'm still not there yet, but I've adjusted my lifestyle, and I've adjusted my expectations of life, and I've adjusted my expectations of business and presentation. And of course the business has grown. And so the expectations that you could build on that is greater and greater. So you want to start with low expectations. You don't want to expect to make money right away, unless you're hitting the freaking gas pedal. Like, again, if you're losing your house, then you got to crank everything up 10x, right? If you think it's going to take this much effort, you 10x it. That's 10x rule by Grant Cardone. That one's worth studying as well. So is Sell or Be Sold, by the way. I would try and mention that anytime sales comes up. Sell or Be Sold is a 10-hour program. You should listen to it at least 10 times, before you're really serious. So it's whether you agree with everything he says or his style or not, it doesn't matter. That needs to be digested. The 10x rule needs to be digested. Your expectations need to be adjusted. They need to be increased on how long it's going to take, on how hard it's going to be, right? On how many hours you're going to need to devote each day. If we're talking about making, say, $3,000 a month, if you think you're going to do that on half an hour of reading a day and then one call a day, you better set the length very long, right? It's going to take you a long time to build that wall with those pebbles, right? You need to crank it up. If you don't have the utmost of confidence yet, if this is the first thing you ever listen to, you need to get on and start listening every single day for years to the stuff that you're going to need to be equipped to actually apply a smart strategy. Because whatever someone's coming out and saying, you see these YouTube ads all the time, I make $10,000 a month, you can do it too. That's fine if you want to believe them. You can do those strategies, but build those bricks is a way smarter strategy. And honestly, any one of these sales, personal development, books, programs, audio programs, conferences. It's all going to instill you with these same tools and the same confidence to build the bricks. That's what it's about. That's what you hear the stories. It's not about, I joined network marketing and in my first month I made $30,000. You might hear some of those things. I've seen some of those things, but that's not the average. The average is, we almost lost our house, right? We were down in the dumps. We went hard. It still was hard. We barely made it by. We borrowed money. We maxed out our credit cards. We grinded. We went to the events and we made the calls. And then 5 years later, we were okay, right? And then 7 years later, we were pretty freaking good. And then 10 years later, now we're on top of the world. Right. And that's the long game. But that's better than having a good job in 10 years. Right. Of course, you want to be following the same wealth principles. You want to be taking any success that you have and building it into investments, other investments as well, and diversity and all that kind of stuff. But you're talking about probably having a job and then going to not having a job, and that means building the income on the side. It means you're competing with it. I showed my whiteboard today on my story, my personal account. I like that, yeah. And so one of my goals is to have my side hustles compete with my regular income. Right, that was a summer's worth of spray paint. It's okay. Paid for the paint. I made some profit. I haven't even used. Well, I barely used half the paint, kind of thing. So I did good on that as a side hustle. But if I was trying to survive on that, I'd be in a real serious situation. Right. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are like that. Don't expect that. Don't expect, if you have a good job right now, to make the same amount in network marketing right away. And again, it doesn't matter who your friends are. It doesn't matter who your family are. You have to build this no matter what. You could enroll everyone you know right away. I did pretty well with the people that I knew right away. And then I didn't build it enough, and I got in trouble financially because it wasn't enough. Because when the price of something goes up, you're in trouble. When your car breaks, you're in trouble. When something happens, you're in trouble. You need to be better than okay, right? You can't just have your costs covered. Same thing with a job. Same thing with leaving a job. You want to be secure. And that, to me, means building the side income to the point where you don't need your regular job. At this point, there's no way I could afford to spend my time. I can't even spend that much time on my hobbies, because not only is the business profitable enough, meaning it's my nest egg, but it demands it, because we're busy enough, which is good. You start to get success. You start to get these types of good problems, new problems. Now you got to delegate work. A lot of the people in social media, how have they been successful? They started delegating work eventually. I've delegated work. As soon as I started to make money on Wallach Warrior, I reached out for help. I reached out to help from my friends, who are AKA my downline, right? Because I got them in. We're already in. So I got some soldiers already, and they can help. We can all help. We all profit off of it. Right. And this is how it should be in network marketing anyways. If you have a way to do it, and if you have an account that's profitable, you're not going to be able to handle all the orders and all the whatever, all the DMs, all the stuff that's involved. You're going to need to start delegating work. Like I still handle a lot of the work. Like, believe it or not, even though I'm semi-comfortable now, I'm still like taking a lot of the responsibility, because I still feel in the very early stages. And we're doing the math here. I'm 5 years in. We have 5 years into that account. And I'm still, it's dominating my life, basically, still. And that I still have a lot of time, by the way. I still live a life. I still have hobbies. I have a girlfriend. I have stuff. But I spend 2, 3, 4 hours a day at least on the phone. And I don't mean making calls. I mean DMs and orders and emails and stuff like that. And that's no matter what. But that's structured into the day. And if you have a job still, then you're going to listen to Gary Vee, or you're going to listen to Grant, or you're going to listen to whoever, and you're going to be up until midnight, answering comments and stuff, because that's what it takes. Or making calls. If this was the old days, you'd be leaving your day job that, keeps the lights on, and you're going to be making your calls, or you're going to be knocking on your doors, or you're going to be downstairs in your wood shop building your product, and you're going to be grinding it out somehow. And that's what it is. It's going to become more and more time, because it's going to pay off. And it might not pay off at first, and that's kind of what is scary. But if you get any success at all, PS, that's one of the biggest motivators. It only takes a couple of sales to make some decent money. In our business, like specifically with Longevity, if you sell a mega pack, bam, that's a big addition to your month, right? If you have no rank at all, you make $100 flat, and you're on a paycheck for one enrollment. That's very good. $100 extra. For a lot of people, that makes a huge difference. I've lived close to the bottom, and this is US dollars. That's a lot of extra food. Maybe that's a bill paid. It's something off my chest, for real. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to put any money down. No money came from my credit card. I had to help somebody with an order. And yes, you got to do a lot of work to do that, to get them to the point of making the order. But the beauty of social media is that you're showing it to multiple people at once. Right? You don't have to send it to everybody individually. You post it or you put it on your story and hundreds of people can see it. Thousands of people can see it. That is the beauty of it. Some people are going to be ready right now. Some people are not. This goes with the 10 no's and 3 yeses. A lot of times it's not even a no. A lot of times it's no, not right now. Right? It's not yet. It's not yet. There's a lot of people that had this idea in their head for a long time and they haven't jumped on it. Maybe it's a business, maybe it's a product. There's a lot of things on my list. I also posted the things I want to buy list. That's a good reference. There's a lot of people who want to buy our product right now or get involved, right? But they're just not ready yet. Maybe they don't have a bit of extra money in their mind or whatever, not ready to make a credit card commitment, something like that. I have lots of things. I could do it. Why not? My O list is very small. Why not? Why couldn't I put it on? But it takes time for us to get everything that we want. And we're trying to push this to the top of people's lists. And for me, it's at the top of my list. It's like, if I don't have supplements, I'm buying supplements, period. It doesn't, it doesn't matter what else I have to do, kind of thing. It's going to get done every month. My account's going to get done every month. We're talking about network marketing. It means my own order is going to be in every month. PS, worth mentioning, it still can go up and down. You still can screw up. June was my most profitable month in the business yet. July, I did something stupid and I missed one qualification thing, and it hurt. It hurt my income that month. So it can go up and down, and if you're completely dependent on it, that can hurt. My baseline, my bills are very, very low, so there's no problem. But if you're carrying a lot of weight, a lot of people, a lot of responsibility, then this is a side thing. And again, the pros, professional network marketers, if you're sitting down with them in a coffee shop or an Uber or something, more traditional network marketing, they are going to be focusing on setting your expectations correctly. If you are actually interested in making money, and this goes exactly to online, social media, all of it, you have to be realistic about the amount of time that you're ready to invest per day, and for how long, and how much money you want to get in the end, right? If you want a lot of money, you have to increase the time that you put into it. You have to increase the posts, you have to increase the engagement, you have to increase the thought, you have to increase everything, the heart, the soul, all of it. The doors, the calls. If you need $3,000 a month, it's a reasonable goal to me. If you need $10,000, the thing is, the amount of effort that it goes into building something in network marketing that's $1,000 or $3,000 a month is the same that it goes into 10,000. 10,000 just did it longer.
Right.
And you can go and hit it out of the park right away and make 10,000 like in enrollment bonuses and whatever, but that's not sustainable, right? You're not going to roll like a freight train for your whole life. We want to be able to ease the gas pedal off. And for the amount of work that I used to put in, now I don't put in that much work. 3 to 4 hours a day of my work day, my basic chunk work day where I have to put my best head into and make sure that I'm dealing with customers appropriately. It's only about 4 hours. And then the rest of it's background stuff. And then video editing is a side chunk that I'm hoping to outsource, and that as you're successful, as anybody's successful, a lot of the content making is probably going to get outsourced as well. And that's a good thing to look forward to, because all this, again, it's much different from going to a job, because you're building the ability to provide jobs for other people, and they're helping you provide a lifestyle through providing value is the core of this. Again, the whole social media thing, the whole outreach thing, getting strangers to buy something off you, get strangers to be interested in you. I mean, that's what this is, providing whatever truth, whatever value you have, and doing it to the best of your ability repeatedly.
Absolutely. And it's scalable now with social media.
So I think that's about a good spiel, unless you've got some existing questions here.
No, that's about it for now. Maybe, Are there any particular books, programs, things other than the network marketing? Anything social media specific that you'd suggest?
Yes. I'm gonna turn around and look at my bookshelf in a second. I actually just want to give one last kind of point too. So we're talking about casting a big net. It's also casting many nets. Within our household, just me and my one housemate, we have over 10 Instagrams, 6 YouTubes, 2 TikToks that are now, defunct, Facebook pages matching most of those profiles. And out of that, we only have one video that's ever reached 1 million views. And out of that, there's only a couple of those accounts that are profitable. and only a few that have ever been profitable. So just keep these numbers in mind. People get shocked at these, but this is what long-term means, and this is what putting your head down and throwing the ego away means, and focusing on what you are actually delivering and putting in that work of creating that thing that you are delivering, or showing that thing, delivering your message, and then obviously answering the people, because don't expect them to just click the link unless you're selling sunglasses or something simple. You're going to need to engage with them, and you just need to put that time in. Listen to Gary Vee, stay up till 1 a.m. and answer the comments. You have to do it. I spent freaking 40 minutes this morning just answering comments. I can't even see them all. Got to go find them all. Just craziness. So it's just got to be done. So next, books, audio programs. Like I said, the Sell or Be Sold to me is the most valuable modern sales tool that we have, as well as Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. I have not listened to Gary's audio version of that. I don't even know if he has one. I assume he does. But the book is just excellent. You should listen to that 10 times, 20 times. Like 10 times is the minimum for any of these things. And this is good because you don't need to read 1,000 books. You need to listen to people who have read 1,000 books and then read the few books that they recommend over and over, or the few books that they wrote over and over. Think and Grow Rich is one of them. And we're talking about social media. Well, if you don't have Think and Grow Rich down, forget about it. If you don't have the basic wealth strategies down, it's not going to work for you long term anyways. You need to get that done first. I have here a Guy Kawasaki book, The Art of Social Media, and I felt that was pretty good. I don't know if it competes though with Gary though. Honestly, I think the absolute top guru for me today is Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary Vee. For YouTube, he can be digested at length, especially his videos from a couple years ago. I think they're a bit more relevant overall to the basic roadmaps, of navigating social media, and also the basic motivation behind it. He's not a motivational speaker, but his message will motivate you to go harder. And you don't need a huge variety. Some other people that I like for books, John C. Maxwell's written a lot. It's kind of old school, but I like the old school. Brian Tracy as well. I do like the no nonsense, no excuses kind of personal development, and you're going to come up with your own ideas of what content to put on social media. If that's there's no book that's going to tell you, whoever you are, whoever I am, there's no book that's going to tell you what to post. Those ideas are going to come from you digesting these other things, from you digesting sales strategies, from you digesting Tony Robbins, for instance, looking at a couple of his books. And there's some old school salespeople here that I don't think are really worth it, but you should go shopping, for these personal development books of the last several eras, including our modern era, and pick a bunch of them up and get that into your routine. I've been reading every day for many years, and it's been one of the most profitable strategies that I ever employed. And what I did when I started to get into network marketing, all I did was switch my books. I just switched to sales books, switched to personal development books, switched to, old school Think and Grow Rich, that kind of stuff. And every day forever. And when that's a strategy, you don't have to worry about immediate results, right? You're talking about people needing immediate results. Well, just the immediate result is doing the action every day, right? Your personal satisfaction will come from completing your daily list, knowing that list is building those bricks. You will see those results as long as it's employed, right? You said you posted a little bit and then backed off. Well, that's the time when you're not growing, right? This happens with me as well. It has happened with me. There's been times I haven't posted before, any real followers, and I didn't grow during those periods. So that's just how it is. I can't get mad at the world. I can't get mad at anybody else. I did not put the work in. As soon as I'm putting the effort in, it grows. It does. No matter the problems that we have with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and you talk about censorship, it is an issue, but overall, when you have your head down on these strategies, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I get less followers this week or next week. I'm not really even paying attention to it, kind of thing. We're doing the daily operation. We're answering our customers. We're handling our business, and we're making our content, and etc. Right? Whatever the flow is for you, and whether it's a side hustle or not, as long as you keep doing it, that's where the satisfaction grows. That's where it comes from. And if people don't know that, they just haven't done that yet. They just haven't built a skill yet, and that's unfortunate. But you know what it's like to build a skill. You know what it's like to build a career. And you know that the satisfaction comes from the actual building it. When you get more comfortable with that process, I don't feel good unless I read. It's not even about curiosity anymore. It's not. I don't feel like I've built that little part of myself that day. And it becomes that important. And that starts to translate onto what? The vibes that you're putting out, onto what? Social media, onto who? The people who vibe with that stuff. So the better you become as a person, the bigger you become as a person, the more stuff you know, the more stuff you share, that just resonates with more and more people, or it resonates deeper with the same people, if that makes sense. And that's the core of it. That's the heart of it. And just the repeatedness of it, bam, bam, building it, exposure every day in every way, long, short. And the beauty about this too, one of the Gary Vaynerchuk strategies, this is again the Wallach Warrior strategy. Take long content, then chop it up. If you're filming your own content, put it on YouTube, take that, chop it up, put it on Instagram. Put it on another platform. Chop it up into 3-minute chunks, 6-minute chunks, put it on Facebook. Some videos, by the way, wicked on Facebook. I've had some hits on Facebook. Facebook can go nuts still without paid ads. Facebook still has that amazing organic ability. But I think Instagram's even better long term. Instagram's better for that relationship formation. I hope I'm not talking Instagram up too much. Like, it's obviously it could be a lot better, but
hard to beat.
For engagement, there's nothing that beats it. It's so effective. It will start to consume your time if you let it. But just direct it. P.S. Consuming the content is not so wise.
And easy to do.
It's easy to do. You won't find me on Facebook really doing much. I don't spend time scrolling very much. I do watch a few stories, maybe end of the day, but really not much at all. And that's key too, right? Like I mentioned, we're talking about a lot of time being invested here. That means if you're serious about building a business, you don't want to be serious about watching movies right now. Your partner is going to need to know that you're serious about this. If they're helping in any way, that's going to be even better. But, just everybody in your life being aware that, I need to study at night. I need to study in the morning. Can't listen to the radio on the way to work. I need to listen to Jim Rohn, or Grant or Gary or Ryan, whatever, this podcast, I spew out information. I try to, just like Gary tries to, because they're worth listening to over and over, because each little point might spark something in you and how you're going to deliver your message in the future.
True.
So, P.S. the last audiobook that I really enjoy, it might be a bit slow compared to the other ones, but The Richest Man in Babylon on audio, definitely one of my all-time favorites to listen to. And one of my all-time favorites for introducing other people into the concept of long-term wealth. And applying those strategies has really actually been what's gotten me out of poverty. P.S. to kind of wrap all this up, network marketing is an excellent vehicle, but I still don't want to rely on it. I don't want to bet that any company, including this company, is going to be around in 60 years, for example. Right. And anything could happen with our economies and with the future. I don't want it all in one basket. It's a very sensible thing. And it was not until I started applying those other strategies, especially the pay yourself first strategy in Richest Man in Babylon, and then, of course, what you do with that 10% is important as well. It wasn't until I actually started taking that seriously that I could actually say that I'm officially out of poverty. And that's where this all connects, because a lot of people are in the equivalent of poverty, don't have massive savings, and they don't have massive income. They don't have a lot of money left at the end of the month. And then pretty close to the bottom. Right now in scary times, a lot of things closing down, we can get pretty close to that line pretty quick. So using those strategies keeps you away from poverty no matter what you're doing. You could do the wealthy barber, you could stack your money and invest it wisely on the side. And that could be the key to getting you out of this job or whatever. And you don't have to be in desperate situation. You don't have to hate your job. Right? This is just the fact that we don't want to work at our job until we're 80. I'm expecting to live a long time. I don't have a pension. We've got to take responsibility for our own life, and network marketing and social media, those two combined are the biggest blessings that I could ever imagine, because I don't have to go door to door. I don't have to make random phone calls. I don't have to put flyers out. I don't have to pay for billboards. I don't have to pay for commercials. You could do it basically for free. If you have a bit more equipment, it'll make your life easier. If you got some microphones and some cameras and you spend some time with editing skills and stuff like that, it's going to do you good over the long haul. Just include that in your daily actions. You don't know how to edit a video? Start. You don't have to be a pro tomorrow? No, you need to start today. Right? You need to do your 20 minutes a day, 4 days a week to start learning your new language or the piano, or in this case, editing or whatever. And in a while, you'll have those skills.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. Build the wall. It's not as sexy as a message, man, but honestly, 50 grand a month on the side is sexy to me, right? The fact that I don't have to worry about going to work, and I'm not balling out yet, you know, I'm not gonna ever ball out, but you know, I'm not super wealthy yet or even close to that, but I'm feeling good. It's a great feeling. It's a super, super great feeling. And, you know, to me, that's most of the stresses in life, especially within our own personal lives and our relationships, is money based. And the fact is, we're not going to be able to make that much extra from our job, right? So when you're looking at it as extra, no matter what you're making, if you're making $1,000 a month, it's 1,000 plus this, that's great, right? If it has to compete with a 20 grand a month income, then, you know, you might not be that appealed in it right away. But at the same time, do you want to work your job forever? I don't know. Nope. A lot of us just aren't, though. A lot of us just aren't making that kind of money, right? The vast majority of people that we deal with and that talk to us and all this stuff, and people we know, they're nowhere near that. They are very close to the bottom, no matter what it is. Their house might be nicer, but their bills are higher. You know, they just don't have that much extra. So when we're pitching any of these efforts, when it's going towards a pool of extraness, I mean, that's where the joy of life lives, I think, is in the extras, right? It's not in the bare minimum. You know, it's not in scraping by. It's not in worrying about the car breaking down or the kids going to college or whatever. You know, as soon as it does start to pay off, the effort becomes joyful, truthfully. And even, you know, I don't like editing videos. I still don't. But the reason I still do it is because I still actually, it's kind of my piece of my heart. I don't want to give it away, right? Yet. And this is because you start to love the work that does start to feed you. And I hope that's a positive way to leave it for now. And I would actually like to do a part 2 of this and pretty soon, because I wanted to have it for a few people, basically, because they ask, you know, how do I do this online? And again, a lot of this, like you said, is an initial disappointment and just, you know, having a hard time getting started. And so take your focus off of getting 10,000 views or getting 10,000 followers and put the focus on daily action. And put your heart and soul into whatever you got. If you only got half an hour a day, then make sure you set that aside. You set the alarm, and you read that book for 30 minutes, or you listen to you insert these things in and do them with discipline, and don't let them fall off. And in your case, Will, you're probably at the stage of needing to post. And if you don't know what to post yet, then first thing on the list to get closer to that goal, write a list of what you're going to post, right? Even if you don't even know what to do yet, then put an alarm for 30 minutes where you sit down and brainstorm things to post about, right? So it's on your list to write about it. It's on your list to think about it. You've made time to think about what you need to do if you don't know what to do yet, right? And I guarantee if you sit down with a pen for 30 minutes with no music on, you're going to just force yourself, because it's actually kind of painful to just sit there. You know, you have other things to do. Right. So I might as well get some ideas down here so I can move on. And then you fill a little notepad with a bunch of ideas, and that's your next step now, because that notepad's sitting there on your table and it's bugging you, right? It's bugging you, and maybe you don't have the next half an hour that day. Maybe it's tomorrow, and that's just how it is. Keep the list going. I'm constantly going through notepads, ripping through notepads, burning through pens. You know, that's the life. That's the life of a business owner, right? That's the life of a business builder. That's the life of a wealthy person. Is getting their list done and keeping their list going, keeping their goals appropriate, keeping their actions consistent.
Well, preach it.
And I wish you the ongoing luck, right? This is like, it's not like, hey, come and join us. And no, we're long haul. That's why the conversation it's a slow conversation. It's a long conversation. It's a long process.
And one that takes discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a major takeaway for me.
And this is a really good time to actually end it right now, because I told Dr. Taylor Mitchell, that I will call her at 1:30, and that's what time it is.
Perfect. Well, really appreciate you taking time to do this. I always love talking to you, and hopefully this can, bring some fruits to my efforts and do the same for some other people as well.
I appreciate you, Will. And I have one last closing point, that these podcasts, overall, if you looked at my views on these podcasts, even on YouTube or on whatever app you look at it on here, it doesn't have that much views, and I'm stoked about each view, right? So this is because my focus is set that I don't need 10,000 views because I just started this podcast, right? That's the thing. When you're just not worried about it, you're able to just keep doing it. And the truth is that even if you get 3 views, if it's something that's 87 minutes long, that's a lot of value that those 3 people could have gotten. And you only need a few of those customers to really change the game. Each brick matters. So look at the small game long term.
Absolutely. Well, all right, Ryan, let you go.
I'd love to talk to you again soon, Will. I hope you have a good day.
Let's do it. You as well.
And thank you everybody else for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.